Galatians. I'm sorry, we're going to start in Acts. Or Acts. And if somebody would, if they'll turn the book of Judges, and hold Judges chapter 7. Pastor has that, and then I'm going to ask my husband if he would turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 1, and he'll ask one also. We're going to be starting in Acts chapter 21. And how many know there's kind of an old saying that we'll never really understand another person's situation until we walk a mile in their shoes, or put ourselves in their place. You know, I read this week about a young man who would spend his summers building homes and apartments with his brother to help himself throughout the summer in teen school. And one morning on their long ride to where they were working at, his brother's car broke down. And they decided that they should walk to see, if somebody would give them a ride. So here they are, not very well dressed because of their job. They work all day long and building stuff. They're carrying a bunch of tools. And it just wasn't really like an inviting picture for somebody to stop and pick them up. And he began to think about normally when he was driving, he would do the same thing. He wouldn't pick up somebody who was trying to get a ride because that would be dangerous, right? So now here he was desperately hoping, because they had a long walk ahead of them, that somebody would show them sympathy and pick them up. It's to better understand really the letter to Galatians that Paul wrote. I want us to try this morning to put ourselves in the place of who wrote Galatians, and that is Paul, who was formerly known as Saul. So this morning, that's what I want us to talk about. I want us to see what it would be like to be Paul, put ourselves in this place. We're going to start off with Paul's background this morning, so we're going to read in Acts 21. We're going to start off in verses 26 through 28. It says, Then Paul took the men, and the next day purifying himself with them, entered into the temple to signify the accomplishment of the days of purification, until that an offering should be offered for every one of them. And when the 7 days were almost ended, the Jews which were of Asia, when they saw him in the temple, stirred up all the people and laid hands on him, crying out, Men of Israel, help! This is the man that teacheth all men everywhere against the people and the law and this place, and further brought Greeks also into the temple, and hath polluted this holy place. So it looks like here they're coming against Paul. And what are their charges against him? They're saying that basically he violated the Jewish law and was teaching against the Jewish people. So I want us to skip down a few verses. We're going to go to chapter 22 and verses 2 through 3 now. After they laid hands on him, so they apprehended him. So after that point, verses 2 through 3 of 22, it says, And they heard that he spake in the Hebrew unto them. They kept the more silent, and he saith, I am verily a man which am a Jew, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel, and taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous toward God, as ye all are this day. So if you look at the credentials that Paul's presenting, Paul says here, I'm Jewish. I'm not an enemy of the Jews. He said, I was raised in Jerusalem. That's the center, the very center of the Jewish culture.
Yeah,
If you think about it, as for the charges that Paul is against the law, he says here that he was taught by somebody who's called Gamaliel. So I began to look it up and I thought, who is Gamaliel? And I looked at a commentary that tells me that this Gamaliel was the grandson of somebody named Hillel, one of the most famous Jewish teachers in all of their history. He was the president of the Sanhedrin Council, and he was the 35th receiver of all of their traditions, which means he was the 35th person who received the entire taught by the grandson of that person. You know, we add here that Gamaliel was celebrated, it says, as they called him, the glory of the law. And he was the first designated rabbi for their ministry. The very first one. So if you break it down in today's terms, what is Paul saying here to them? He's saying, listen, I was taught by the world's foremost authority on the law. He's basically telling them, I'm better acquainted with the law than all of you who are making charges against me right now. He's telling them, I know it better than you know it yourselves, and here you are coming against me. Let's read in Acts 22, verses 4 through 5. It says, and I persecuted this way unto the death, binding and delivering into prisons both men and women. As also the high priest doth bear me witness, and all the estate of elders, from whom also I received the letters unto the brethren, and went to Damascus, to bring them which were there bound unto Jerusalem, for to be punished. So, what now is Paul basically saying? What is he trying to make relevant against the charges that are bringing against him? He's basically saying to them, you suggest that I'm willing to violate the law? And he says, I've been killing people for years who are opposed to the law. So if you think about how would we kind of summarize Paul's defense to these people up to this point? He's telling them flat out, he says, I'm better educated than you. He said, I'm more zealous than all of you. He's saying, I killed for the law that you're coming against me with right now. I used to kill all of those against them. And he's not refuting really the charges. He's just saying, who are you to accuse me? You know, now think about this. We've heard Paul. If we were, I think it's religious a little bit. If we were to put ourselves in Paul's place, what kind of attitude would you expect he would have? You know, what kind of attitude is reflected in his events so far when you think about it? You know, you would think he's telling them, I know better. He's superior to them. And he's superior to them in terms of his education, too. So if we were on through verses 6 through 10, it says, and it came to pass, that as I made my journey, and was come nigh unto Damascus about noon, suddenly there shone from heaven a great light round about me. And I fell to the ground, and heard a voice saying unto me, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? Yeah. And I answered, Who art thou, Lord? And he said unto me, I am Jesus of Nazareth, whom thou persecutest. And they that were with me saw indeed the light, and were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spake to me. And I said, What shall I do, Lord? And the Lord said unto me, Arise and go into Damascus, and there it shall be told of thee of all things which are appointed for thee to do. So if we talk about this for a second, Paul first lays out all of his credentials before these people charging him with an account saying that you're coming against the law. You're going against it. He lays out all his credentials, but then he turns around and he says, God chose me. So let's find out. Why did God choose Saul or Paul? Let's find that out. Judges chapter 7, I want you to read verses 2 through 3 for us. 2 through 3. Yep.
The Lord said unto Gideon, the people that are with thee are too many for me to give the Midianites unto their hands. Lest Israel fought themselves against me, saying, Mine own hand has saved me. Now therefore go to and proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, Whosoever is faithful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead, and there return of the people 20 and 2,000, and there remain 10,000.
Do you have 1 Corinthians? Go to just chapter 1 and read verses to start off with, verses 20 and 21.
20.
Yep, chapter 1, verses 20 and 21.
Where is the wise? Where the scribe? Where is the student of this world? Hath not God made foolish the wisdom of this world? For after that, the wisdom of God, the will by the do not come. See, God, I am foolish to speak to save that way.
Does anybody else want to read this one?
Yeah, Joey probably does.
1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 26 through 29 now.
For we see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called, but God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty, and base things of the world, and things which are despised, hath God chosen, and things which are not, to bring to not things that are.
So if you think about what we just heard in Judges and in both parts of 1 Corinthians,
Yeah.
the Bible has this reoccurring theme about God working through human weaknesses. And so being smart and well educated a lot of times is a problem. Because a lot of times you'll see those kind of people tend to claim the glory that is due to God. Because they feel like they are above everything. So we look at Paul here, and you think, has God changed his approach? Has he changed his approach? Because another problem with intelligence a lot of times is education and power, is that we tend to rely on that instead of relying on God. We tend to rely on your knowledge instead of relying on God. So and really in light of all this, why would God choose a God with a superior attitude?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure, but I thank God because a lot of times my husband will tell me, and I vouch for it. I got book smarts, but a lot of times I lack common sense on certain things. I can vouch for that. And he'll say that he's thankful that I got book smart because I think our kids are smart. But it's like, I do. He has the common sense in the marriage that I don't have.
Right.
So you think about that. I thank God that's good news for me because he'll choose smart, well-educated people as long as they have a humble attitude before the Lord. You can't put anything before the Lord. Look at Paul. Paul was so smart, and yet God chose him to serve him. So God not only used Paul in a major way, but he also used Daniel. Daniel was well-favored and smart. He used Moses, who was raised up as a prince, and smart. He uses talented, well-educated people, and he also uses those who lack talents because God can equip you with whatever he needs you to have. So it doesn't matter your background or where you come from this morning. Aren't you so thankful
Amen.
that God will use you if you just let him? Look at Paul here. When he was Saul, he killed Christians all through his life.
Yes.
He was doing what he thought was right according to the law, and then God blinded him to open his eyes and used him. You know, let's look again at the instruction now that was given to Paul. We want to read verse 10 again. It says, and I said, we're back in Acts 22, and I said, what shall I do, Lord? And the Lord said unto me, arise and go into Damascus, and there shall be told thee of all things which are appointed for thee to do. So if you had Paul's background, his education, and his zeal for the law of God that he had, and his charter of authority from the Sanhedrin was to wipe out all the Christians, would you be asking this question all of a sudden to a Lord that you didn't really believe was Lord? You believe in the Jewish law, and the Jewish law is to believe that Jesus is the Messiah. So all of a sudden, here he is, he's saying, what shall I do, Lord? If you were Paul, your whole life is being turned upside down right now. Everything you believed up until this point is being flipped on its head. You know, you thought you were obeying God this whole time, and you thought Jesus was a fraud according to the Jewish law. And now all of a sudden you find out you were wrong and Jesus is God. You know, you would truly not know what to do if you were in Paul's shoes. And what kind of answer does God give to him? You know, if you break it down, first follow these simple directions, and then now, how many of us want to take, a lot of times we go through a great service and we feel on fire, and we want to do something great and mighty. How do we start by being faithful in small things in our lives? Sometimes those things are the hardest things to conquer. Is being faithful in the little, day after day after day after day. Start with something small, and then your faith will begin to grow. And it will continue to grow. And more responsibility will be given to you. And and you will have to be a little bit more faithful, a little bit more faithful, and you begin to grow. Let's read Acts chapter 22, verse 12. It says, "And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there." So we're reading this one verse. What kind of person is Ananias? It's saying that he has a good report of all the Jews. Here Ananias is a Christian. He's a pretty good guy, right? So let's turn back to Acts chapter 9 now. We're going to read a little bit more about Ananias. We're going to turn to Acts chapter 9, and I'm going to read verses 10 through 15. It says, "And there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias. And to him said the Lord in a vision, Ananias." And has anybody ever heard God speak your name in the middle of the night? Sometimes you just look around and it kind of startles you. You're not asleep. It kind of just shakes you. So can you imagine here, it says, he's in a vision. It doesn't say he's asleep. It says, and to him, but said the Lord in a vision, Ananias. He didn't question. He said, "Behold, here am I." And the Lord said unto him, "Arise, and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayeth, and hath seen a vision, a man named Ananias coming in, and putting his hand on him, that he might receive his sight. Then Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man, how much evil he hath done to thy saints at Jerusalem. And here he hath authority from the chief priests to bind all that call on thy name. But the Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. Ananias must have trusted the Lord. He must have been very trusting, because he wants to be sure first that God knows all the facts about this guy that he told him to go see. He says, don't you know how he's killed all the people in Jerusalem that call on your name? And he gives him all these facts. And then, if you think about it, Paul calls Ananias a devout observer of the law. You know, I thought about that this morning, so that kind of gave him something in common with Saul at the time. They both observed the law. You know, so this fellow also had the respect of his Jewish neighbors. Everyone respected him. And so what does this tell us about Paul's action and I'm going to go back real fast. You guys can see it here. I'm going to turn back to 20, so I'm going to read verse 13. In Acts 22:13 says, Came unto me, and stood, and said unto me, Brother Saul, receive thy sight. And that same hour I looked up upon him. So what does this action from Ananias tell Paul? It's like this guy, you know, if you put yourself in Paul's shoes, you're thinking to yourself, this guy can do miracles. And I was blind, and all of a sudden now I can see. You know, he can undo what God did, and therefore he must have been trusted with the power that God gave to him. You know, I would immediately have an attitude of great trust and gratitude towards him. Imagine you not being able to see. You've had sight for all your life. God stretched you blind. Here comes a man who lays his hands upon your eyes and you can see it. Wouldn't you be grateful that somebody like that obeyed the Lord? It's God. It's 100% God. But somebody here on earth trusted God enough to be used of God. Thank God for those people on this earth. Because those people paved the way for you and me this morning. It's people in my life that trusted God with their whole lives and showed me who God was. Because now I'm at where I'm at today. You know, it's those people that paved the way. And so let's read on and we'll find out more details about this event. And back in Acts chapter 9, I'm going to read verses 17 through 19 now, that says, And Ananias went his way and entered into the house, and putting his hands on him, said, Brother Saul, the Lord, even Jesus that appeared unto thee in the way as thou camest, hath sent me, that thou mightest receive thy sight and be filled with the Holy Ghost. And immediately there fell from his eyes as if it had been scales, And when he received sight, there forthwith and arose and was baptized. And when he had received meat, he was strengthened. Then Saul certain days with the disciples. Then was Saul certain days with the disciples which were at Damascus. So you notice here that Ananias refers to both the working of Jesus and the Holy Ghost in this event. And Paul was blinded by the light. And I thought, why should scales fall from his eyes? Because there was times that Jesus healed with mud, he spit in their eyes. And it doesn't talk about scales when they're falling, they receive their sight. And here scales are falling, so you think about this. They literally see something fall off of his eyes, and it kind of gives credibility to those that are around him that it was true, that it was real. God wanted to show a physical change to those around him by having those scales fall off. Because who knows? Doubters, skeptics could have said he was never one to start off with. But because those scales fell from his eyes, how can you explain that? You can see with your own eyes something falling off of somebody else's eyes, and all of a sudden they can see. That's a little bit more difficult to explain. In your flesh. We're reading Acts 22, verse 14 now. Sorry, I'm just skipping back and forth, but it accounts for both. Accounts for this. One is 22, 14. It says, and he said, the God of our fathers hath chosen me, that thou shouldest know his will, and see that just one, and shouldest hear the voice of his mouth. So if we break all of this down up to this point, Paul was one of the foremost experts on the law, taught by Gamaliel. We learned this, we studied this earlier. So what does the language chosen you to know his will suggest? Paul knew all of this stuff, but I think with all my heart, that when God was speaking to my heart about this, Paul needed more education. He needed to know more about the true God and who the true God was in his life. And perhaps different education, but the right one. Who is the righteous one? The just one. He said there's just one. Jesus. And so if it means Jesus, how is this possible? It kind of gives us a different and interesting insight, really, if we're in Paul's shoes. Because Paul has promised you that Jesus will personally teach him and educate him what he really needs to know. So he knows all of this law, but Jesus is saying, I will personally teach you what it is that you need to carry out what I call you to do in this life. I'm going to turn to Galatians now, chapter 1. You can hold your spot for Acts 22 still. But Galatians 1, verses 11 through 12, to start off with. It says, but I certify you, brethren, that the gospel which was preached of me is not after man. For I neither received it of man, neither was I taught it, but by the revelation of Jesus Christ. We're going to read 15 through 17 now. It says, but when it pleased God, who separated me from my mother's womb, and called me by his grace, to reveal his Son in me, that I might preach him among the heathen, immediately I conferred not with flesh and blood. Neither went I up to Jerusalem to them, which were apostles before me, but I went to Arabia, and returned again unto Damascus. So think about that. A lot of times, he says here, to reveal his Son in me, that I might preach him among the heathen, immediately I conferred not with flesh and blood. His counselor was Jesus. His counselor was the Holy Ghost. He's saying here immediately, I didn't ask nobody. He knew for himself what God was telling him to do. So what consistent claim is Paul making here about his instruction for what he's called to do? He said it from the very beginning. He says it over and over again. He received this instruction directly from Jesus, who is the just one, who is the righteous one, who is the Messiah. Regardless of all the law the Jews had, he's saying your law is wrong. And he knows it inside and out. Back in Acts 22, verses 15 through 16, says, "For thou shalt be his witness unto all men of what thou hast seen and heard. And now why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized, and wash away thy sins, calling on the name of the Lord."
Yeah.
So whom is Paul witness to here? All humans. You think about his former life. Was that really who he was in his former life? Not really. You don't really want to go and kill somebody who you feel like you need to save. You can't do both. He's saying here, I'm called to show you who Jesus is, regardless of if you're a Jew or a Gentile. You know, his focus was on teaching Jews and promoting the true understanding of what the law was for. And so, but now he has all of a sudden this mission that's far beyond his own people. Far beyond his own people. So why does Paul have to be baptized? It's an acknowledgement when anybody's baptized. And it's an acknowledgement that our past life is gone. It's dead. And you arise under your new life, under God. And he's promoting the kingdom of God instead of what was sinful before. Now, how difficult is it for a person with a lot of knowledge, a lot of intelligence, great education? He had this superior attitude that he was better than everybody else, that the Jews were better than everybody else. All of a sudden to make a 180-degree turn in his life. With a snap of a finger. God came down, struck him blind, and he believed. All of a sudden, his attitude changed. Let's read on in verses 17 through 20. It says, "And it came to pass that when I come again to Jerusalem, even while I prayed in the temple, I was in a trance, and saw him saying unto me, Make haste, and get thee quickly out of Jerusalem, for they will not receive thy testimony concerning me. And I said, Lord, they know that I imprisoned and beat in every synagogue them that believed on thee. And when the blood shed of the martyr Stephen was shed, I also was standing by and consenting unto his death, and kept the raiment of them that slew him." So is Paul willingly accepting God's directions? God's telling him to do this. These people don't believe in me. I need to get out. And here he is trying to present an argument before the Lord. He said, but God, these people know who I was before. They'll have to, surely they'll believe now. And he's not really accepting God's directions. So God tells Paul to leave because he will not be able to persuade these people. And Paul kind of looks at God and says, why not? You know, these people know that I was he's the most zealous Christian. All of a sudden he went from being a zealous Jew to a zealous Christian. These people knew him. And surely they'll take him seriously. So let's read on verse 21. It says, "And he said unto me, Depart, for I will send thee far hence unto the Gentiles." So what is God's direction for Paul's life all of a sudden? The very ones he was persecuting and killing, he was to teach the Gentiles. So why do you think Paul really records his argument here? He physically writes down his argument against God. What is he telling us as we read and listen to what he has to say? I think with all my heart, he's really giving the credit 100% to God. He's emphasizing that God was the one who was at work. Because Paul says, I had the best education. I was smart, motivated, hardworking. I had the backing of my nation's religious leaders. But God turned that all around. He changed everything and gave me a mission that I didn't get. Put yourself in Paul's shoes this morning. How would that be? Kind of a rough pill to swallow. All of a sudden to do something else. Verse 22 says, "And they gave him audience under this word, and then lifted up their voices and said, Away with such a fellow from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live." Was Paul preaching a popular message here? No. This gives 100% credibility to what he wrote and said. You think about it, people lie oftentimes to avoid trouble. And people who are saying things that get them into trouble are most likely telling the truth. If they're telling on themselves and getting themselves in trouble, then you know that they're probably Now, if you were Paul, looking back over your life, what would you think about the way that God had led you? Was it a waste of time for Paul to be instructed by anyone? I don't think so. I think it was part of who made Paul who he was. That was all part of God's plan. Was it important for Paul to be a great student? Was it important that he had the best teacher? And that was it important that he was filled with such drive? You see that drive in the way that he persecuted Christians before becoming saved. He had such a drive his entire life. But all he really needed was a better understanding of God's will for his life. So I thought about this more, and I thought, man, what about us? Do we really strive for excellence in everything that we do?
Yeah.
I mean everything. In our physical life, do we try to be the best that we can be? At work, do we try to be the best that we can be? In our marriages, do we try to be the best that we can be? To our children, do we try to be the best that we can be? In our emotional life, in our spiritual life, do we strive for that kind of excellence I call it? You know, has God given you gifts that you are supposed to use to advance His kingdom that you're sitting on this morning? I don't want to sit on gifts easy because I don't want to be disobedient. I want to do whatever it is He's called me to do, and how I have to put a fire in my belly to get it done. You know, you think about Paul. His entire life had that zeal to push and push and push and just keep pushing and keep doing and get God's will done. Do we have that kind of a zeal for God this morning? And if not, are you open to being led by the Holy Ghost in ways that you didn't expect to? When I was little, I didn't expect to be standing up teaching in adult Sunday school class. I didn't expect to have 2 children of my own. When you're little, you have these big dreams about doing other things, and then God all of a sudden points you on a path, and you look back over your life, and you're so grateful for the way that He pointed you. I love it this morning. I thank you and I praise Him. That's all I have this morning. We'll continue on next week. But I tell you what, church, if you're not striving for excellence in everything that you do,
Come on, Aaron.
it's time to start little by little every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I can do it. I'm going to do it.
Right.
Submit yourselves daily to the Lord and present yourselves as a living sacrifice to Him daily unto the Lord. And the small things. There's times my kids won't have food on my plate, and I don't want to give it to them. I want that food. And I give it to them because you are a servant in everything that you do in this life unto the Lord. Those children see everything we do. If we hoard something or pull a piece of us back,
Come on.
they're going to think that's okay for them to do later on in life.
Hey.
What are you going to do in front of the people that you live day in and day out?
Yeah.
If you hold something back, you're selfish in a certain way of your life. How are they going to really, truly, 100% see who God is, which is all giving?
That's it.
God gives us 100% of Himself. Do we give 100% of ourselves back to the Lord? I love, I thank you and I praise Him this morning.
Glory to God. I'm teaching that this morning about old Paul, and we saw back then, and the Lord called him Paul. But just think about now,
back in those days, in time sin rejoiced, it was just the word went out to the Jew. It wasn't even to the Gentile nation until the Jews kept rejecting the word of God, rejecting the Spirit of God, rejecting what God had for them. Well, the Lord opened it up. Paul, I'm going to send you to the Gentile. See what I mean? So then the Gentiles were taught the word of God, and they were, like us, considered as filthy rags or dogs and outcasts, but then the door was open. When Jesus died, He said the veil of the temple was ripped from top to the bottom. And in the Holy of Holies, well, only the priest would go, you see, for the sins of the world once a year. You all know the story. But that opened it up. Anybody that would come under the Lord could and would be saved. But the Jews said the Gentiles will never You see, we seek the Word of God, but then the doors were open for Paul, you know, in Scripture, how a lot of the disciples then went and preached to the Gentile nation, which was us, after God got in trouble. And they were bound up, put in prisons, heads cut off, and slew, and martyred for the Word of God. So it's good, isn't it? I believe the door has been open for anybody that wants to come to the Lord can come. But until that include you, me, whoever, can come and take the water of life freely.